Paul Laurence Dunbar was an African American poet, novelist, and playwright of the late 19th and early 20th centuries. He was born on June 27, 1872. He was one of the first African American poets to gain national recognition. He died on 9th February 1906. The title of the poem, Sympathy, not only sympathizes the bird in the cage, but also a personal sympathy that the poet feels towards himself as an African American. So, as an African American, the poet has gone through several discriminations in his life. Just like the bird in the cage, his life was also not free. So he talks about freedom in a very beautiful way by symbolically referring to a bird in the cage. So let's go through the poem. I know what the cage bird feels, alas, when the sun is bright on the upland slopes, when the wind stirs soft through the springing grass, and the river flows like a stream of glass. The rhyme scheme in these four lines is A B A A. In the first line, the poet tells us about a bird that is caged, and he is very sad. He uses the word alas. In the second line, the poet gives us a picture of beautiful landscape, the sun shining brightly on slopes and hills, but unfortunately the little bird cannot move out of its cage to enjoy this beautiful landscape. In the third line, the poet uses the imagery of a beautiful landscape, a breeze stirring the grass, and in the fourth line, the poet tries to use a simile to compare the flowing waters of the river to a stream of glass. And through these, the poet emphasizes that the bird in the cage cannot enjoy all these wonderful things in nature as it is locked up inside the cage. It cannot fly and enjoy the breeze, neither it can drink the clear, crystal clear water of that flowing river. When the first bird sings and the first bird whoops, and the faint perfume from his chalice steals, I know what the case bird feels. In the fifth line, the little bird cannot go up and join with its companions. It cannot fly out and sing or smell the beautiful perfume coming from the opening flower bud, that is, the first oops. In the fifth line, the poet uses a metaphor by using the word chalice. A chalice is a cup used for drinking wine. Here, the speaker refers to the flower as a chalice or a wine cup from which comes a beautiful smell. All in all, it sounds like a fancy, blissful experience which the bird, misses out or is denied. Now, again, in the next line, that is the seventh line, the poet repeats the line, I know what the case bird feels, implying that, the case bird's feelings could be understood by the speaker. So he feels sad for the little bird and can really understand that it is denied its real and true freedom. I know why the case bird beats his wing, till its blood is red on the cruel burrs. For he must fly back to his perch and cling when he fain would be on the bough a swing. In the eighth line, the poet is presenting the bird in an unhappy state. It is beating its wings against the bars until they bleed. This because he wanted to be free, he wanted to fly out from the cage. And so it ends up hurting and breaking its wings in the tough metal bars. Here, the speaker identifies himself with the bird, and with its struggle for freedom, he too had been like that bird once upon a time, who wanted to be free. In the 10th and 11th line, the poet, presents the bird who would love to swing on a bough. Fain fain means that a bird would prefer to be hanging out on a bough or a tree branch. Because inside a cage, a bird feels trapped and uncomfortable. But then he would be more comfortable and at ease and can be free if he is on a tree branch. But inside the cage, he had to hang out on his little perch and cling to it there because he has nowhere to go. And a pain still throbs in the old scars, and they pulse against with a keener sting. I know why he beats his wing. In lines 12 and 13, the poet gives a reference to the old scars. Now, scars here not only the injury that a bird goes through while beating his wings against the cage, but also the injury of the mind that the poet had witnessed or had suffered during his racial discrimination as an African American. Now here this pain that is in that the little bird gets and the pain of the poet is similar because it keeps coming back to them again and again like a throbbing pulse, and it would not be over unless and until that both gets their freedom. In the last line, that is line number 14, the poet tries to understand or can really feel the pain and suffering of the bird because there is so much similar about him and the little bird in the cage. I know why the cage bird sings, ah me, when his wing is bruised and his bosom sore, when he beats his bars and he would be free. It is not a carol of joy or glee. In lines 15 and 16, the poet presents the bird as a singing bird, but here the bird is not singing because it is happy, but it is singing a sad song. And the poet identifies this song with his own because he too had a similar song in life. Though the bird is hurt, it is injured, but it did not stop singing. And it also has an underlying meaning here. The song can also imply the hope that it has after it's been released from the cage, the hope for freedom. In line 16, we can see alliteration in the words bruised and bosom. The b sound is repeated here. In lines 17 and 18, the poet tells us why the cage bird is singing because it wants to be free, and it sets up freedom as an important idea in the poem, and it is extremely important not only to the bird but also to the poet. In line 17, we can see alliteration in the words beats, bars, and b, the b sound repeated here. But a prayer he sends from his heart's deep core, but a plea that upward to heaven he flings. I know why the caged bird sings. In this line, the poet, presents the bird song as a sad song. It's not at all a song, but it is a prayer and a plea that the bird sends to heaven. So, what is the bird really praying for? It's praying for freedom here, of course. After all, in the beginning of the poem, we have seen in those lines that the bird was always, wishing that he was free, and he was trying to beat the cage with his wing to be free. So that's a poem about freedom in a double sense, freedom to the poet and the freedom of a bird in a cage. So, children, I hope you enjoyed the poem. So, meet you in the next class. Goodbye.